Why Galadriel gave Gimli 3 of her hairs when he only asked for 1, and what it really meant. There's no question that The Lord of the Rings is a saga full of intense emotional moments, as is appropriate, considering the sagas and myths that author J.R.R. Tolkien drew inspiration from while writing it. Whether your favorite version is the original epic text or Peter Jackson's phenomenal film adaptations, The Lord of the Rings is a powerful and compelling story that sweeps fans off their feet with its compelling emotional honesty. One particularly poignant and underrated moment comes late in the Fellowship of the Ring, as the Fellowship, having rested in the elven sanctuary of Lothlórien after the tragedy of Gandalf's apparent death, resume their journey to Mordor. As the Fellowship departs, they are met by the beautiful Lady Galadriel, who bestows upon them gifts to help in their travels. Yet even the Lady of Lórien herself is unsure what to gift the steadfast dwarf Gimli, son of Glóin. When she asks him his heart's desire, his request is something simple: a strand of her golden hair. Gimli wasn't the first person to ask Galadriel for strands of her hair. Gimli, as any dwarf would be, had been suspicious of anything elven when entering Lórien, and not only because he and the Fellowship were met by elves with bows drawn, as the animosity between dwarves and elves in Middle-earth was long-standing before Gimli was even born. Yet his stay in Lórien opened his eyes to the beauty of elven crafts, and so in that moment he spoke his heart's desire, so that he could carry a piece of Galadriel's beauty with him as he journeyed on into the dark and fell parts of Middle-earth. "There is nothing, Lady Galadriel," said Gimli, bowing low and stammering. "Nothing, unless it might be, unless it is permitted to ask, nay, to name a single strand of your hair, which surpasses the gold of the earth as the stars surpass the gems of the mine. I do not ask for such a gift, but you commanded me to name my desire." The Fellowship of the Ring, Chapter 20, Farewell to Lórien. Yet, as a dwarf, Gimli was ignorant of how he was repeating a request made to Galadriel thousands of years before, in the youngest days of the world. In Arda's first age, when Valinor was still lit by the light of the 2 trees, the ambitious elf-smith Fëanor, who later forged the legendary Silmarils, saw how his niece Galadriel's hair glowed with that same light, and asked her for a strand of her hair to forge into a jewel. Thrice he asked her, and thrice she rejected him, for she saw in him a darkness that she feared and loathed. The meaning of Galadriel giving Gimli 3 hairs after rejecting Fëanor. Galadriel fulfilling Gimli's request thrice over reflects how much she changed in the ages since her uncle asked her for the same. Galadriel was headstrong and young in the first age, and although she was right to fear the darkness in Fëanor, as it would drive him soon to forge the very jewels that doomed all the Noldor, that same darkness was within her and all the elves of Valinor, for they were being subtly influenced by the presence of the Dark Lord Morgoth, who had been brought to Valinor in chains after his defeat by the divine Valor. Yet Gimli's earnest request struck a chord in her heavy heart, for in him there was none of Fëanor's darkness. After 7 millennia of conflict and strife, Galadriel had become weary and cynical, more so after learning of her friend Gandalf's death. Yet Gimli's earnest request struck a chord in her heavy heart, for in him there was none of Fëanor's darkness, and so she complied thrice over, giving Gimli a gift which she understood he would genuinely treasure. So it was that one of the most tender moments of The Lord of the Rings happened, healing a small but significant wound that had festered since the days long before the first rising of the sun over Middle-earth.